Steve Dotto here. How the heck you doing this fine day? And welcome to Webinar Wednesday. I am some kind of excited that you guys are joining us today. This is the second of our refurbished Webinar Wednesdays as we're coming back. Traditionally, historically, Webinar Wednesday has been delivered on a webinar platform. We've delivered on Webinar Jam. We've delivered on, oops, let me just turn this down here. For some reason, I got a little bit of audio happening there. There we go. Traditionally, we were on Webinar Jam or Demio. We've used a lot of different webinar tools, but we decided that we thought YouTube is going to be a better platform for viral sharing, for reliability, for getting information out to you all on a more effective manner. So we are now delivering this live on YouTube, which changes a lot for us, but it doesn't change the basic content that we're going to be delivering to you. We are still going to be delivering, oops, let me just, there we go. We are still going to be delivering the same valuable educational content on productivity, security, privacy, a little bit on marketing, as we've always done here on Webinar Wednesday. But for some of you, this might be new. It might be the first time that you are discovering us here on Webinar Wednesday. So a great big hello and welcome to you all. And especially, I want to do a great big welcome and hello to all of our patrons. Dotto Tech, our whole channel, is supported through the generosity of you folks through the crowdfunding site Patreon. And we have so many of you that just on a weekly basis support us here on Dotto Tech. And we would not be here if it were not for your generosity. Now, there are perks that are included for our patrons, and one of the biggest perks is we take each one of these webinars that we deliver each week, and this is our 144th, I believe, and we leave them free and available to everybody for 48 hours after the webinar goes live. So this will be live till Friday at noon my time. Whatever time you're watching now will be around the time that it will come down on Friday. But then we take the webinars and we archive them in our Webinar Wednesday archives for the exclusive use of our patrons. So to all of our patrons, a great big hello. Thank you so much for your support. And to anybody considering becoming a patron, welcome aboard. Now let's get into things. Let's welcome on and bring in April to us. Let me see. Have I got you in here, April? Have I managed to bring you in? There we go. Oops.
Hi, everybody.
Full screen. How you doing?
I'm good. Happy Wednesday. How are you?
I'm good. It's smoky. It's so smoky here in Vancouver. I did a live stream this morning, and I just did 45 minutes of speaking, and my throat feels like just like
terrible.
Sandpaper in it. It's incredible the amount of smoke flowing up. So our thoughts are with our friends. So many of them down in Washington and Oregon. It's getting into Arizona now. California is just in terrible, terrible shape. We've had bad wildfires here in Canada, in BC, for the last 3 years, and like worse than normal. And what they're experiencing down there is just
it's horrible.
So our thoughts are with you all, and stay safe.
And I actually just shared with you, we are having some haze in Connecticut. Here on the other side of the coast, we are seeing some of that here, believe it or not, which is crazy.
Wow. It's just insane. Well, everybody stay as safe as you can. So let's fill you in. First of all, welcome to everybody. And we're still getting used to the entire process here of delivering the webinars here on YouTube. So there are some different tools that we're going to be testing out and trying over time. So today last week we streamed to you live using StreamYard, which is a live streaming tool. This week, we are streaming to you live using Restream. Oops, there we go. Welcome, Chris, a Patreon member. So we are trying different tools out, so we're still kind of exploring them as we go. So this is pretty exciting. This is very cool. Now, how do I?
So there's so friends that are let's see. So there's just some comments about your audio and video is much more delayed than mine.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's interesting. That never happens.
I'm wondering. Well, I guess that could be just due to kind of network connectivity things that we're having here.
Are you streaming through something different?
Yeah. Sorry.
Are you using a different camera this time?
No, it's my normal setup. Absolutely normal, vanilla. There we go. I've got everything set up now. That's the topic today. Simple steps to better security. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So our topic today is we're going to be kind of taking a holistic look at what's happening in the world of security and privacy. As if we need other things to worry about in the world today. we're going to take on some of them. But there are, especially when we're talking about some of the scams and some of the different attacks that are happening, where people are where they're using different technology and different world events to try and literally steal money from us, beyond our privacy, beyond hacking into our computers. So I thought there's just so much of that going on right now that our defense against it is education. So that is going to be our topic today. We're going to be talking about the entire world of security. So we'll start with talking a little bit about password managers, and we'll go on from password managers. We will also talk about we will talk about VPNs, which we've never really talked about too much. Do you use a VPN?
No, we don't. I mean, I've used one before, but no, we actually don't use one.
Yeah, so I'll talk about VPNs, what I think are some of the best use cases for VPNs. VPNs, by the way, are virtual private networks. And then we will also talk about the scams. So we've got a fair bit of content to cover. So I see people could just joining in from all over the world. That is fantastic. We're well north of 200 people online with us right now, which is just fantastic. Hey, if you want to help us out a little bit, we can take advantage a little bit more. We've got to take a little bit more advantage of the platform that we're on. So if you want to give us a little bit of a help, if you give us a thumbs up on this video, like it, or better yet, if you share it with your community, let people know that you're on with us. You can help us to grow the viral reach. One of the reasons that we decided here at Dotto Tech to deliver Webinar Wednesday over a public network like our YouTube channel is we wanted to grow it a little bit. Obviously, we are always looking in the online marketing world to growing your marketplace as much as you can. And rather than paying for ads on Facebook, I thought it would be great if we could take advantage of the algorithm itself. And if we could serve some great content into YouTube, if the YouTube algorithm would appreciate it, and people would then discover us organically. So you guys can help. You're really the solution as far as that goes. So if you've been so kind as to do some sharing for us, liking, any of those sorts of stuff, commenting, of course, I appreciate it greatly. All right, so I think it's time we're going to do the video. So typically speaking, Webinar Wednesday is a hybrid webinar where I pre-record the main lesson that we're going to be delivering, and then we deliver that to you as a pre-recorded, almost like B-roll in video. And while that's going on, both April and I will be in chat answering your questions, and then we'll come back and answer your questions live for the remainder of the hour. We try and keep it just under an hour as far as the amount of time that's committed. If something comes up and you have to jump away for any reason, the replay will be as soon as YouTube compresses and re-enables the replay. It'll be available to you as a replay for 48 hours. And we will send you an email. For those of you who registered for this, we will send you an email within about an hour after the webinar with all of the resources that we share during this webinar. So if you don't write something down and you want to know what a website or a tool that we're using, we will send you an email with all of those resources. And those of you who didn't register, who've just come on to us through your YouTube subscription, if you want to receive that email, April will drop a link in right now where you can just register so that you will receive that email with all of our resources. So just letting you know about that as well. So, as I said, we're using Restream today. So we've got a couple of different ways that we can share video. So I'm going to be testing a few different things out as we go along. But one of the ways is Restream has a direct video feed potential where I can upload the video to Restream or from my desktop and have Restream stream it through. So that's what I'm going to try now. Fingers crossed. Come on, April, cross your fingers for me. I need everybody's fingers crossed that we're going to be okay. So the first video is about 20 minutes long. We're going through the applications first, VPNs, password managers. Then we're going to take a quick break, talk to you for a second, and then we're going to talk about all of the scams that are going on, of which there are so many. But I've got some great resources to help protect us against those scams. So you're going to want to stick around and see that. So right now, though, we'll be in chat. And while chat is going on, let's have a look at VPNs and password managers. The next thing I want to talk about is education, is just arming ourselves with knowledge against the most common attacks that come our way. So very glad you are joining us today to talk about this really important topic, which is what can we do on a personal level to really improve our privacy and security? Now, a lot of those answers are in technology, in the technology we choose and the services we sign up for, in technical things that we do online that will help protect our privacy. But I think an even bigger part of the equation is just educating ourselves on where attacks come from, what the people are and what they look like who are attacking us, and what the kind of the hallmarks of these attacks are. Over time, you will quickly, I guess that's kind of the antithesis of over time, but over time, you will start to identify the kind of the DNA of security risks. And so often if I see a text or if I see an email or somebody posts something, I recognize just by the nature of what it is that it's probably a security risk that you want to avoid. For example, just recently I got a series of emails, let me show you. Just hold on a sec. Here it is. Have a look. This came from a Facebook friend who I often have little conversations with. And it's a video that he wanted me to watch that says, "I think you appear in this video. Look at it. I'm really," and it goes on. And you'll see notification. Is this you in this video? I didn't know you did that. And people go, wait a minute. And it immediately appeals to our vanity, or it worries us that somebody has that something is out there that shouldn't be out there, that we've been hacked and some of our videos have been released. A whole bunch of things go through our heads. So we click on it, but it's really a Trojan horse. It's got a virus built into it that will then replicate it and cause this to go to probably to my friends list on Facebook, were I to click on it, and a natural cascade of events would happen, and none of them are good things. I would infect friends and be embarrassed and cause more damage, etc., etc. But I didn't spread it. Why didn't I spread it? Because I recognized immediately that it had the hallmarks of a scam. It pulled on those triggers, the way that it was framed, the way that it was put together. It's not a lot different than previous scams that have come through before, or previous Trojan horses that have come through before. So because I was educated on it, I didn't spread it. Others did. The person later on sent a message through saying, "Oh, please don't open this video if you happen to see it," because they were caught in it. And what had happened, of course, is they had clicked on it themselves. They had been fooled by it, and then they became part of the chain of events. This is the place that we want to be, not where what happened to my friend, but we want to be at a place where we break these chains, where we aren't part of the problem, but instead we are part of the solution. So today, let's look at 4 simple areas that we can improve our personal security and privacy. We'll talk about 2 different tools. We'll talk about password managers, and we'll talk about VPNs, or virtual private networks. We'll also spend some time talking about how to identify phishing attacks as they come in our email, which are still so very prevalent and are really so easy for us to defend against. But those phishing attacks have now extended beyond our smartphone, beyond our email, into our smartphones. We'll talk about the text version of them and the voice versions of some of the scams that are increasingly happening to us on our mobile phones. So we'll cover 4 different distinct areas today, all simple concepts that will help you protect yourself, your privacy, and your security more effectively. So let's get started. Now let's talk about VPNs, virtual private networks. These are little pieces of software, pieces of code which installs on your computer or your smartphone, which acts as a gateway between you and the internet at large. Typically speaking, when you connect to the internet on your Wi-Fi network, what happens is your computer connects to Wi-Fi, or to a cabled connection for that matter. Your computer connects to a local server, which then distributes and handles all of your conversations with the rest of the internet at large. And that service is, first of all, it's identifiable where the local server that you're connecting is, so people know what country you're in and what general geography you're in. But you also have an IP address attached to your computer itself, so it can be tracked all the way back to your computer. Now, most of us are probably not overly concerned about the fact that we can be identified online as an IP address, but some of you might have concerns in that space. What VPN does is it masks all of that. It allows you to spoof the internet into thinking you're coming from an entirely different region, and it completely hides your IP address from outside eyes. So it provides a tremendous amount of security and privacy. Now, there is a price to pay for that, as in some cases, the internet's going to run a little bit slower. Plus, typically speaking, you have to pay for the service. But there are some benefits to it. And some of the benefits are soft. Some of them are kind of are almost rumors, and other ones are very tangible. The biggest and most tangible of all the benefits is the privacy that it creates and the security that comes along with that. I think VPNs are far and away the most valuable when you are in mobile, when you are with your notebook in a coffee shop, or when you are connecting to Wi-Fi on your smartphone in a public Wi-Fi network. VPNs will mask your identity and prevent people from being able to spy on your conversations online. It's a great tool for protecting you from hacking on public networks. I think that's probably the most single valuable thing that VPNs do. But there are other benefits as well. Some people use them so that they can access services that are only available in different regions. At one point, and I'm not sure if it still works that way or not, but if you were in Canada, you couldn't watch US Netflix shows unless you used a VPN connected. Then Netflix would think you're in the States and they would serve a different service through. Now, all of those different streaming services are trying to shut down that capability, but in some cases, you can get access to content that is not in your geography by spoofing the internet into thinking that you are in a different geography. Another benefit some people say, and this is one that I've tested and it's never worked for me, so if it works for you, I would love to hear that in the comments, is people say you get different pricing if you say you're coming from a different place. And this is especially true, they say, with things like hotels and airline reservations, that if you pretend you're booking a hotel from outside of the country as opposed to inside the country, or in some cases from inside the country as opposed to outside of the country, you end up getting a better rate. Is that true? I don't know. It's never worked for me, but VPN proponents say that it does do that. Now, let me show you just quickly what a VPN looks like, because on my Mac, for example, I've installed NordVPN. I've got a link for it down in the description, and it is an affiliate product. I am an affiliate of Nord, so I make money if you decide to buy it. But frankly, I don't care which of the VPNs you choose. I don't know which one is better. There's no way for me to tell which one is better. This is the one that I happen to have bought. But when I open it up here, you can see that I can quickly choose a country that I can connect from. Now, the biggest concern that I have is not necessarily privacy in this particular case, because I'm not too concerned about my security locally within my own environment, my home environment here. So I would be primarily doing it to mask my identity. But my biggest concern is whether or not it affects the speed of your internet connection, because now all your traffic has to go through a server in another country. And if you look it up online, they say that depending on how far away and what country you're going to, that it will affect your performance, or it may not affect your performance. You're going to have to kind of check that out by trial and error. But let me show you how it works on the smartphone, because I've got it installed on my phone. And as I say, I think it's a great idea to use these, especially when you're connecting to public Wi-Fi networks. So let's just do a test here. Let's connect my iPhone here to a server in Germany. Let's do that. And let's connect it, and let's see what happens with the performance. Now, my upload speed and download speed is what we're checking. The download speed is excellent. I think that looks pretty much as good as I would get locally. The upload speed is quite a bit less, though. This is not. So let's just disconnect from this. And now let's reconnect and let's run the test again using my local servers here that are right physically close to me. And you can see that my download speed is very similar. So things like streaming should be pretty much the same, but my upload speed suffers. So if I am doing if I'm doing a live stream, or if I am posting a video to YouTube, my performance as far as that might be affected. But you can see that VPNs are fairly easy to run, and once you've installed them, they don't require an awful lot of technical clarity, but they do mask your identity online, which is a big step towards protecting your privacy and ultimately your security online. Now we're going to spend some time talking about password managers, which I am increasingly fond of. I didn't love password managers back when I first started to use them, but now I recognize not only how they help keep us safe, but they also end up saving us a lot of time on a daily basis. When you think about how many different accounts you have to sign into on all of your different devices, keeping all of your usernames and passwords straight can be a real chore, as well as a security risk. And password managers elegantly support us through all of that. And all of them are good. The competition in the space for password managers is so high that regardless of which password manager you choose, if you choose one of the mainstream ones, such as LastPass, 1Password, Dashlane, or KeyPass, a password manager of that ilk, you are going to be in very good shape. They will install on your computer, they will install on your smart devices, and they will help protect you and help save you a lot of heartache and a lot of time wasted as you try and gain access to your different accounts, making sure that you're the only person that gets into your accounts. And I'm going to do a quick demo. Now, unfortunately, whenever you demonstrate this, I am going to be demonstrating on my own account, so I'll be using LastPass for this demonstration. But there will be some blurred screens because I obviously am dealing with a lot of private information. And even though it's often hidden, I don't want to share usernames, et cetera, with you as well. So we'll have to blur the screen a little bit more than we normally would. But here's a typical use of using a password manager is I'm going to sign into any bank or financial account or any account that I have. When you go to that site, once you've used the password manager and you set up the account within the password manager, when you visit the site, you see here I've got a little icon here under my password field for in this case for TransferWise, which is an online bank. Within here, it's got my TransferWise account and it's got the password information put into it. Now I have a master password, a big password that I have to remember, but all of the other passwords LastPass remembers for me. So when I go to log in, it auto-populates that for me. So all I have to do is click login and I'm into my account. It works that efficiently. It's tremendous. And it works for all your bank accounts. It works for your email accounts. It works for your different software as a service accounts. It works for almost everything. And so from that perspective, as I say, they are dreams come true. Now, typically speaking, you will install the password manager within your browser just as an extension. So you can see here I have LastPass active here. More often than not, when we go to sign into any account, we're going to be signing in through a browser. So as a browser extension, it's a natural fit. And you can always just click on the browser extension and it pops up a little kind of a subset of the different features that are built into the password manager, so that you can quickly access. If you need to share a username or share a password with somebody, you need to copy it into the clipboard for one reason or another, you have access to all of those things here, as well as the ability to do things like generate very secure passwords that allow you to set the criteria for what the password is going to be. If you want to have one that has no numbers, you can choose one with no numbers. If you want to have one that's easy to read, you can change. I've never done it for easy to read. I don't know why that's easier to read or not. Or you can increase the number of characters in the password to a fairly large character set or reduce them. So you can automatically create and autofill passwords as you're creating new accounts using the tool as well, which is, again, a nice benefit of using the password manager. Now, at any point, you can also open your main vault. In the cases of LastPass, they call it a vault. And this is where you have all of your passwords. But here we see that the password manager does more than just manage passwords and accounts. It will also manage your payment cards and keep all of your different credit cards or your debit card information available to you so you can quickly access it. But it's also protected. Separate bank accounts, separate files for your Wi-Fi passwords if you're logging in different locations, and very useful, even software licenses where you can store them separately as well. So it looks at holistically at all of the things that you have accounts for and tries to help you out in all of those spaces. As well, it will check all of you. The security dashboard is always fun because it goes through and it tells you how many passwords you've used that are at risk, where you've used the same password multiple times. And I have a fairly large count here. Don't worry, that's because I use the same password in demo accounts as I'm testing things out just for convenience. If I'm actually using an account for any work or business, then I use a secure account that I created in LastPass. This is just because I test so many pieces of software that I have such a big number there. But they've got but it does do a security check for you. And one of the very cool aspects is when you go to change the password for any account that you have, when you it will facilitate the entire process of changing the password and updating it, and then it updates its files automatically for you. So it makes it very seamless when you update your passwords on accounts, which you should do on a regular basis. A few other things that LastPass and the other password managers do, such as allowing you to have access to a full family, so you can share the application within your family, and you can also at any point choose any of your different passwords, and you can share them with others, say with team members, so they can log into the account without having access to be able to see the actual password, so they can just log in as a user. So there's some nice extra functionality there as well. But the thing that I wanted to show you right now was the fact that it also works very well within the mobile environment. And this is one area where LastPass, for sure, and I'm sure the other password managers, has really improved in the last 18 months, shall I say. And I think it's partially due to the improvement in iOS, and if you're using Apple, but the mobile operating systems have improved their understanding and their interaction with the different password managers. But this is something that I really appreciate and has saved me a lot of time in mobile, because in the past, getting the password manager to sync with the mobile apps was a little bit of a chore, but now it seems to have integrated really nicely. So let me show you now how it works when you would log in. And let's log into the same account that we just logged into. Let's log in to TransferWise. Now, when I click login, it brings me into a dialog box that allows me to enter the email address. I don't see that I have access to anything special here as far as LastPass is concerned. I can use the biometric feedback and the Face ID if I want from Apple, but I want to use my LastPass password. When I tap on the field, the entry field, the keyboard comes up. LastPass attaches itself to the keyboard, and it works within the keyboard. So it says right here, do I want to use the LastPass password that is in my keyboard, that is in my LastPass account? When I tap on that, it then fills in the information, uses my Face ID at that point there to identify that it is me. So there's kind of two levels of security. And then it fills in the relevant information, password and username, so that I can log in. This saves me so much time in mobile. I love this feature in LastPass and in my smartphone or on my tablet, having them fully integrated. So it integrates from the desktop right through to our mobile systems, keeping all of my passwords safe and secure and giving me access to them when I need them and where I need them. To me, that is winner, winner, chicken dinner all the way. As I say, I don't care which password manager you choose. I do have affiliate links below for LastPass because that is the one that I use the most. But as far as I'm concerned, if you choose KeePass, if you choose Dashlane, if you choose 1Password, they all work very, very well. They're all very similarly priced, and they're all worth the investment of both time and money and your trust as well. I highly encourage us all to make sure we're using password managers. Wait, before we go on, there's one other thing that I want to show you in LastPass, which I think is so relevant, but some people find it, I guess, uncomfortable and hard to talk about. That is this feature here, which is emergency access. Emergency access gives someone who you designate access to everything you have in your LastPass account, access to all of your accounts, full unfettered access to everything. And obviously, this is in case you're incapacitated, hurt, or unable to access your accounts. But think about this for a second. If something happens to you, and how does your coworkers or how does your spouse get into things like your own bank accounts, your email account, your Facebook account, or your YouTube account, places that you only have access to because you are the one that holds the password and the account information? So in many cases, it becomes just a nightmare for them to gain access if they have to make changes or if they have to access critical information within those accounts. So how this works is the person is sent an email with instructions when you register them. Like you send them and you invite them to be your trusted contact. But then they've got that available to them. There's a link that they click on to send you back to request permission to access the account. That comes to your personal email. If you're not incapacitated, you can say yes or no to give them access. But if you don't say anything within whatever period of time you set up, say it's 24 hours, if they send a request, say you're in a coma and they've asked for access to your account, they send a request, 24 hours. If you haven't said no within that 24-hour period, then they automatically get access and they're able to start working with your accounts. It's a great insurance policy and something that everybody should be thinking about. One of the biggest challenges people have, especially when they lose a loved one, is how do they deal with all of their different social accounts, not to mention the bank accounts. Bank accounts, the banks have systems to work their way through. But dealing with Facebook and others when something like that has happened can be a real nightmare. So emergency access, something definitely to think about. And we are back. There we go. And April, if you want to jump back on, you can as well. Oops, there we go.
Hey, everybody.
Let me close that one down. There we go. Oh, no, just turn it off. There we go. I got it. I got this all figured out. All of the switching going on. That was fun. So
it was fun.
Now I'm hoping I'm back better in sync. But there's really nothing we can do about that at this point here. It's the internet gods and our bandwidth that is being an issue. And my daughter's phoning me.
Always. She has a knack on Webinar Wednesday.
I've told her many times, but she just doesn't listen. Do you have kids like that? Does everybody have kids like that? Can you all?
No, my kids never do stuff like that.
That was the technology story, and we've got all of your questions listed down here, and we're going to get back into doing them. And so I will. So we will go through all the questions here in just a moment that you've got. I broke the video into two sections because this was kind of the technology side, but now I want to talk about the scam side in just a few moments. So I have another short little video to share with you where we walk through some of the scams and some of the resources you can have, which I personally find interesting, not just from a personal protection point of view, but just from a curiosity point of view about how creative the bad guys are.
They are definitely creative.
Oh my gosh, they are.
I'm still waiting for my $1 trillion of my long lost.
Oh yeah, you're waiting for your Nigerian general to come through.
Yes. Aren't we all?
Many of us are waiting for the Nigerian general. But before we get to the second part of the video, I want to once again just do a quick shout out and thanks to our patrons at Patreon, because we would not be on there. We would not be able to deliver this kind of free content if it wasn't for the wonderful support that we receive from our patrons. And so I just wanted to let you know that if you are interested in supporting us here on Dottotech, if you drop by patreon.com/Dottotech, you can sign up to become one of our supporters and help keep this type of content flowing through on a regular basis. Now, typically speaking, our patrons sign up for $10 a month. And for that $10 a month, you get some perks. And those perks include our immense gratitude, access to all of our Webinar Wednesday replays, of which this one will be the latest. There's 144 of these tutorial webinars available for our patrons, and also discounts on our courses. The main perk is access to the webinar replays, and frankly, the main perk is the fact that you really help to keep us on air, which we appreciate ever so much. We used to include free hugs.
Yes.
Oh, just a minute. No, I can't. Did I accept the call from her? I don't think I did. No, go away. I'm on my webinar. You're a bad kid. You're ungrateful. Go away. I'll talk to you later. You think if you reject a kid's call 3 times in a row, they would. Well,
the only thing is then you start to go, is it an emergency? Like, do you need to get in touch with me?
It's not an emergency. It's not an emergency.
Well, clearly she calls you every Wednesday. So
The beauty of live. The beauty of live. I should sometime I should do a story about the most embarrassing thing. Back when I did television, we had live things happen all the time. Like stuff would happen when we were live. That was always interesting and often embarrassing. But the network never found it quite as amusing as I find it right now.
Yes. Well,
when issues like that happen.
so one of the things you were saying is that we used to give out hugs, but
hugs.
Yes.
At public events. So you'd see me at a conference somewhere, and if you would come up to me in Patreon and I said hugs if appropriate, I would give people hugs. But I guess that's going to be a long time before we can give people hugs.
And you're a good hugger too.
I was a good hugger. I was a good back in the day.
Are you not going to be a good hugger again?
I don't know. Doesn't it bother you when you watch a TV show and people are sitting close together, strangers now? Like you watch a movie and people are, and you're saying distance, people, distance.
Well, it's funny because even when you see, like I was in the grocery store and I saw somebody who I hadn't seen in like a year, and I was like, Jean, hello. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I want to hug you, but no. Yeah.
All right. Well, at any rate, thanks so much to our patrons, to all of you. Our greatest appreciation for your support, and anybody who's considering, we encourage you to jump on board. So now what we're going to do is got one other short video, and then we're going to answer questions for the rest of the hour. So this is dealing with the scams themselves. So it's not about technology anymore, but it's about educating ourselves and what's happening. So let us view that. We can have all of the technology in place that we've shown you. But if you willingly give away the farm to the bad guys, if they phone you and ask you for some information that is a scam, and you give that to them, well, there's nothing we can do about that except educate ourselves. So we are the best line of defense against so much of what's going on. And there are just a plethora of scams and phishing attacks that are happening. Used to be we just received an email and it looked like it was a Netflix bill that you would click on the Netflix logo and it would take you to a site that looked like Netflix, but they would scrape your password and email address, etc. That still happens. People still fall to that particular scam, but it has become much more sophisticated now. Now you'll receive text messages. You'll receive text messages that look like they're from providers. Now, sometimes you'll see ones that are kind of bizarre. You'll be in Canada and you'll get one from a U.S. carrier, and you'll go, oh, well, obviously, I don't have a bill with Verizon since I live in Canada. That is a scam. So we'll recognize them, but sometimes they'll come from the company that you actually use, so somebody you have a relationship with. So the same rules for phishing attacks apply in your mobility life as they do in your email life, as we don't click on those links. Instead, we navigate directly through our own apps into our accounts with those sites. But increasingly, we're starting to see other types of attacks, and they take advantage of the current news. For example, I love this site. This is a Canadian government's anti-fraud center where they talk about the most recent frauds and scams. But not only do they talk about them, but they give you statistics that they've gathered on how many Canadians, in this particular case, but you can extrapolate that into your own country, have been caught by these scams. And some of them will be worse than other countries. This is a new one. This is the COVID one, which is they phone you up and they say, oh, they play on our fears. They say, you have been exposed to COVID based on our contact tracing. So you need to be tested. And you go, oh my gosh, I need to be tested. So they meet and you ask them what you need to do. And they tell you, oh, you have to send us some money and we will send you a kit. We're doing this as a home kit now. Or you'll make an appointment here, but you have to send us a deposit. And if you ask them why you have to send money, they will have a variety of different explanations, some of which I imagine is you'll be refunded, but they need it to secure your spot or something like that. Look how many people. This has been reported 4,100 times as of today in Canada. 2,900 people have fallen for it. It's a pretty legitimate concern. I mean, COVID is something that's in the news. We are all afraid of it, and there's so much disinformation going out about it. You can see how a scam like this would be successful, and indeed, $5.6 million, that's been reported. That's all that we know about at this point, just in Canada, just in the last few months. So these sort of sites, and we will share all of these sites with you in our follow-up email. So make sure that you're registered for this webinar. But these sort of scams are rampant. And these sites that we look at, they go through. And there's kind of 4 scams that are top of mind for Canadians right now. And they're talking through, another one is a Bitcoin scam. So they'll talk through each one. And there's a lot of different sites like this, not just Canadian sites, although Canadian sites are the ones that I notice the most. This is another one that's happening. This might be happening in your country. The new, can you hear me? So somebody phones you and they say they're from XYZ company, but they say, "Can you hear me?" And they're trying to actually get you to say yes. The reason they want you to say yes is a lot of different voice interactive systems work based on the owner of the account using voice recognition to be able to say, "Yes, I want access to my account." And that word "yes" means everything to these scammers. So they want you to say yes so that they can then input that into the VIR system as they're trying to hack your account. Insidious, and again, kind of sort of brilliant. But you have to recognize if somebody calls you and they're asking you a leading question that way, that they're trying to get an answer for you from, you've got to question their legitimacy and perhaps ask them to give you a number and you will call them back. That sort of thing, if you think that it might be on the up and up as a way to protect yourself. But again, we will share this article with you and so that you can know more about it. Now, there are so many of these scams going on that we can't possibly go through them all. I'm looking forward to seeing in chat which ones you folks have been exposed to and which ones you know about. But they happen everywhere and all the time. Here's a post that we'll share with you where they're using the chat tools right here within YouTube saying, "Hey, you're a subscriber to my channel. You've won this. Here's a link to collect your prize." A scam. And we can see that Phil DeFranco is talking about that in this particular scam. So they are all over. It's only your education that's going to protect you from it, your awareness. And the more we read about it, the more we share with others where these scams are coming from and how they are coming about, the better protected we are going to be. One last resource I'll share with you is in the States, the Federal Trade Commission. They have this ongoing blog which deals with all of the most recent scams. And the gift card scams, if somebody wants you to pay with a gift card, that's a great indicator it's a scam. So they've got all sorts of articles here that is worth looking through on a regular basis as a way to protect yourself and keep yourself better educated on the situation. There we go. That is the scam story. So April, you can turn your camera back on. So the audio levels, I apologize for the audio levels. If you're getting, I suspect I'm going to have to listen to the replay, but I suspect that the audio level challenges are coming when we're going from live, which we are now, into replay, when we're feeding the video. And I fed video from two sources. One I fed from YouTube, another one I fed directly from my computer. So I suspect that it was coming from one of those, that's where we've got to figure out how to set the audio levels so that they're more consistent. But that's a learning curve of now delivering these webinars as a weekly live stream. And we're doing quite a bit. I mean, we are incorporating video replays as well as everything else within it. So there's been a little bit of learning that we've had to do. So we've got lots of questions, April.
We do.
Isn't that COVID one nasty? You can see how people would fall for that one, eh?
Yeah, that's terrible.
By the way,
that's like setting on fear.
I realized as I explained that voice one where people want you to say yes, one of the reasons that they want to record your voice saying yes is if they have your voice on record, when you go to make the claim back with the company can say, "No, that's your voice saying yes," as if something was, say, being purchased or ordered or something was happening like that. So it's really insidious in multiple levels where they're actually kind of making you become the bad guy in your own scenario as well. So there's a lot of places that we need to educate ourselves in this space. And we've got a ton of questions. So we've got 15 minutes. Let's get through as many questions as we can, shall we?
Yes.
Now we're trying a different Q&A system now. April has been capturing the questions, and I've got them all here on my iPad here, as many as I can. I did notice one that you didn't clip and copy. Somebody asked about me commenting on Lastpass's lack. I think that they wanted me to comment on their lack of support. I haven't experienced that myself, but I haven't tested Lastpass's support out. It sounds to me like almost all of the password companies have limited reputation as far as direct level support. So I'm not.
And I especially think on free versions too, most support kind of stinks.
Oh, and free versions for sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Karen Wolfston is asking, how do I find and install a VPN for my iPhone or iPad? When you check whichever version of a VPN that you use, you will look to see if they have a mobile version. Most will. The one that we are including in the email, NordVPN, which is one of the more popular ones, they have iPad, they have mobile versions, which is what I showed you. So most of them will have that, I believe. So yeah, when you install it, just if you want to, just go into the store of your smartphone. If it's the Apple App Store or if it's the Google's Play Store, just go and do a quick search for that name of that VPN, and you'll see if they're there, and you can make that decision before you sign up for one. She also asked, she uses 3 browsers. Will the password manager cover all of them, or do you need to install one in each browser? As a matter of fact, a tool like LastPass or 1Password, they've got plugins for all of the major browsers. You'll have to install it in each browser as a plugin, but once it's installed and you log in, you'll have access to your entire account in that browser. So it has to be installed independently in each one, but it's not an arduous process. You just install it, log in, and then you have access to all of your password features within the browser. I don't know, did I mention within the video? I can't remember when I recorded it. I really highly recommend that we don't use the browser's own built-in password managers. There's just far too many security risks as far as that's concerned. But all of the browsers now, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, whenever you log into places, they say, do you want us to save that password for you? And for all of your real accounts, I say absolutely not. For some simple things that you use, or if you're testing out a piece of software, you might say yes for a period of time. But for the most part, you want to make sure that you don't do that. I would recommend not doing that. We're up to Paul's question. Do you have a video on how to get your smartphone to display your desktop screen? I don't know if I have a video on it. We did in the past. It's getting easier and easier. I'll tell you how I do it right now, very quickly, is I actually just use the built-in recording feature in the iPhone. I record it wild, and which means I record it on the smartphone as I'm kind of talking to the camera. Then in the editing software, I pull the two together. That was something else that I learned today is there was so many comments that you lost sound when I was showing you the upload speed test, when I was showing the speed test.
Yeah.
What happened there was I recorded that, and then I did a voiceover to talk about it, and then I married the two together in editing. So that didn't happen in real time, and I just put a freeze frame behind of me. That's why I moved it over my face, because I was like, that. Oh. And so you could see the speed test. But now I've learned a better editing technique would be to have a music bed underneath it so people realize
yes,
or talk over it the whole time.
Not any audio. Because I thought the same thing. I was like, huh?
You kept writing me, and everybody's going, there's no sound, there's no sound. I'm going, oh, you guys, just watch the pretty pictures. So at any rate, I can't remember what brought that up. What did I bring that up? So that's how I do the video. Is it's not happening in real time, even though I make it look like real time in the actual video itself. Blogger's asking, what happens when the service gets hacked? All your information's one place. Isn't that the opposite of what good security is? Yes. Now, I can't get too far in the weeds on this, so we're talking about password managers, and you would think that because a password manager has all of your accounts and all of your passwords, that you're in trouble. But in fact, it doesn't. What it does is the password manager creates a connection between your local computer or your device and a service that's in the cloud. And all of the information is hashed in the service so that there's two complete different silos, which your password in your account is the magic key to putting them both together. So if, say, LastPass gets hacked, they might get a hashed version of all of your usernames, but the actual passwords reside in a different location. So they wouldn't be able to, even if they did that, it's just a big text file that's all mumbo jumbo that doesn't relate to anything else. So it's very secure as far as that is concerned. And in fact, LastPass has had a hack in the past. But I'm sure other ones have as well, because they have to be obvious targets. But nothing is 100% secure. But overall, I believe that you are more secure in using one than if you try and kind of MacGyver your own system together. So that's that answer. Karen's asking, installing a password manager, does it overwrite all of my existing passwords? No. What happens is it audits your traffic on the web. So once you install it in your browser, every time you log into a new service, if you're just manually entering your username and password as you would be doing, what LastPass or 1Password or any of the other tools will do is it will say, as soon as you've gone to log in and you've hit that login, it'll say, oh, I see you're logging into this account. Would you like us to create a LastPass record of this account for you? and then at that point there, it creates that account. So that's how it does it. So it doesn't actually overwrite anything, but it uses your existing passwords. But then what you'll typically do is you'll often have used the same password multiple times, is you'll go back into LastPass and you will overwrite those passwords with new, more secure passwords as a part of the process. And I think we showed that on a video. That's the kind of the natural process that you will go through.
So
April, look at you. She's changing the color on the questions as I answer.
I am. Well, that's because I usually, when I'm giving them to you, I mark them on my side. So Shelly actually wanted some, if you can elaborate that. So are you saying that VPN is better than antivirus software such as McAfee?
No, I'm not. It's really very different. VPN blocks your IP address from other people, so people don't know where you're coming from or who you are. It does nothing. If you click on a malicious site and a bad piece of software gets downloaded, if you use your VPN to browse porn sites and as a result you end up clicking on a video that installs malicious code on your computer, you're still screwed. So it's not protecting you against viruses, it's protecting your privacy. It's stopping whoever you're communicating with from knowing who exactly you are through your IP address. So knowing what country you're coming from or what region, etc. Does that make sense? I hope that does.
Yep.
Okay. So Jeffrey says, how do you ditch Apple's built-in software password manager? It seems to supersede my 1Password, gets rather confusing selecting the correct autofill password. I just ignore Keychain. Keychain pops up. That's Apple's built-in password manager, Keychain. Some people use it, and it's probably an okay one to use if you live in the Apple ecosystem, but I've never liked it. I've never trusted it, so I don't use it. So I just ignore it, is how I do it. Jeffrey is asking, has there been a major breach yet in any of these password managers? And for sure LastPass has had one, and I'm sure some other ones, but it hasn't been a damaging attack, whereas we know that people have lost access to their accounts. As far as we know, there's been no breaches that it's actually where people have lost, their bank passwords, or people have been able to hack into accounts. Did you have something you wanted to say? Oh, April's just
I'm
walking her
my
dogs.
I'm sorry if you hear my dogs. I was just going to mute myself for a second.
What about logging into a school account? Will LastPass work there? Sure, it'll log into any type of account. If you're talking about using a public computer and using LastPass, I wouldn't do that. Typically speaking, you're not going to install LastPass and then log into your account if you're on a public computer. Instead, what you can do is on your smartphone, you can open your LastPass app, you can look at your username and password, and you can manually enter that if you're logging in a public computer, and then make sure that you delete all of the cookies and that you're working in incognito mode when you're on that public computer. Okay, so Robert's asking, do I let LastPass set my secure passwords? Yeah, I use the password generator all the time. And I think everybody who uses all of these tools uses the secure passwords that they generate. Joe Palace asks, is it safe for Google to remember my passwords? I would say no. That's something that I like to remove Google from the situation. I already talked about that. It's similar questions. Is it safe for Safari to save passwords? No. No browser. Don't let the browsers do it. Jeffrey's asking, how do you move passwords from Apple's Keychain into the LastPass or the manager? YouTube search for that. I don't know specifically how to do it from Apple's Keychain, but all of the password managers have migration assistants that will help you move from one to the other. So depending on which one you choose, take a look at migrating from this to that, and if you're thinking about it, and they will walk you through that process. Natalie, hey Natalie, how you doing? She's asking, what would you recommend to use to track your digital accounts to inform your family? You keep a list of accounts with your will and the people and POA, and so that they know where to start. That's exactly what I showed you as far as the LastPass family account and the rescue one, the one that I showed you at the very end. Is there's a tool that will allow you to make a person almost executor to your accounts. And where this is so important is not necessarily your bank accounts, because there are systems in place for getting access to your bank accounts and your will. People's wills, as soon as the bank sees the will, knows the person's passed away, they give the executor access. We have social systems to set up for that. What we don't have is Google and Facebook being responsive to those things and being anywhere near as responsible to the sensibilities. I mean, we all know that by how many of our dead friends appear as, remember this great time 8 years ago when you were with your buddy who's now passed, and Facebook just brutally reminds us of a loss. So they aren't socially responsible from that perspective. So typically speaking, when somebody passes, making sure that somebody has access to their Facebook profile so an appropriate message can be made for people who haven't heard of it. Because this is where we now learn of these tragedies happening.
Well, if you can change your page to a memoriam too, like if you have access, and then that stops that.
But they're going to ask for a death certificate and all sorts of other things that have to happen in advance. Whereas you can immediately, and yes, over the terms of months and years, there are systems in place where you'll work through their process. But in the immediate aftermath, does somebody really want to research and find out how to log into somebody's account so that they can say, sadly, we've lost this person, and here's, when the memorial is going to be, and kind of respond and to become a place of common grieving? If the only one person has access to that account, the person that's passed, it's a nightmare. And it's just additional burden. So that's the reason that I love this feature. And I think most of the password managers have it. You'd have to do some research and put it in place, but it's a very responsible thing to do. Gary's asking if we've seen if we've seen the scams coming through LinkedIn. I'm not a big LinkedIn user. I frankly find LinkedIn a little bit. It's just too salesy for me right now, so I'm not spending much time in it. So no, I haven't, but I'm sure that many people have. Maybe they'll share them in comments. Michelle's asking if I can comment on the difference between the free and paid versions of Lastpass. And no, I can't anymore because I haven't used it recently. Maybe somebody in comments can add something.
And so you're on the free version.
I'm not on the free version. I'm on the paid version.
You're on the paid
I'm on the family plan. So I don't know. But the free version won't allow you to share passwords with coworkers and others. So you can't have the shared passwords. I think it's mainly around sharing is the main thing. Ken's asking, can I install multiple password managers so I can test them side by side? Sure you can. And you could do that. But I think people have been commenting they have 700 accounts in the password manager. I think if you're going to do that and you have that many, it's going to be, and frankly, how are you going to evaluate it? How can you really compare without, and people say which is the best one, and I see people commenting all the time that this is the best or that's the best, or they comment that this is more secure or that's more secure, and I don't know how they make those determinations. I don't know what they're basing that on. So my philosophy for password managers is the same as for CRMs and other tools. Find one that you like the reviews on, that you like the look of, that you have a decent feeling about. Invest in that one and learn to use that one and work with it. Keep your eyes and ears open for any reports of it being insecure or there being real problems with it, and be prepared to move if you have to. But master the one that you choose and don't spend too much time warning. 1Password, LastPass, KeyPass, all of these are great password managers. If they aren't, the competition is so fierce that they would have been buried by now. So you can be pretty trustworthy that the one that you choose is going to work. Another key, who's your support? If in my family, since everybody turns to me for help, if they choose to use 1Password and they know that I really know how to use LastPass and they use 1Password, they're on their own. Right? Who's your support? Figure that out. And so if you're in the Dottotech clan, LastPassword might be a good choice. All right.
You forcibly forced my hand to use it.
Sorry?
I said you forcibly forced my hand to use it.
I forced you to do several things in the past. I'm a mean guy.
True.
So we're up to the top of the hour. If anybody has to leave right now, we only have a few more questions. We'll keep going till we've answered the questions. But if you need to leave and you want to watch the replay, this replay will be available to you shortly after we're done. And my thanks to all of our patrons and to everybody for joining us. But stick around for a few more minutes if you want. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more questions or so. So I'll do my best to get through them as quickly as possible. Karen's asking, when installing Password Manager, does it automatically... Oh, we already did that one? Val asked if I am using the premium LastPass version, and are the benefits worth it? I think they are for 2 reasons. One is I appreciate the extra ability to be able to share passwords, and I like the family manager aspect of it, so I believe that those are good features. But more importantly, or different importantly, is with the tools that I consider to be core tools to my productivity in my personal life, Evernote, Lastpass, even though I might be able to make do with the free version, I don't want to make do with the free version. I want to pay. I want the benefits of being a customer. And mostly I want the company to be profitable so that they're around and they don't sell themselves to somebody else who's going to change it or all of those sorts of things happen. I want it to be a profitable venture because I want to continue to use it. I don't want to have to move away from it because Microsoft has bought it and decided to close it down, or Google has bought it and decided to close it down. So I do think it is worth it. Royce is asking, if you have a VPN that is viewing your computer, can you install another VPN for other users? I'm not too sure about how VPNs work based on users, installing it like one VPN for one user and a different VPN for a different user on the same computer. I actually don't know. You'd have to do a search for that. I'm sorry. I haven't tested that out. Deb is asking, what has happened when everyone in your contacts sends you a weird email saying it's from you, but the reply is to a different email address? I don't know technically how they do that, how they spoof the email address, but that's one of the things that you have to recognize, that they recognize that the potential is there. Like Facebook friends coming from somebody that's not actually your friend, but it looks like your friend's profile and picture, that those are hacks happening. And you do recognize they're usually fairly cumbersome and asking you for something which makes your spidey senses tingle. I want those spidey senses tingling, and I don't know how they do it technically, but I recognize when they come, as do you, I imagine. Brian Beck says, are you saying changing a password through LastPass will change it on the service you want to open? No. What happens when you change your password in LastPass is it actually does. For most of them that follow kind of a standard convention, is you can go into LastPass, ask it to update your password. It will launch you into the accounts that you are wanting to change, and then you'll go through within each one, because it's slightly different, you'll go through the password change. LastPass will be your partner in that. It will suggest a new password, and then it will retain that password in your account information. So it's a kind of a multi-step process, but it does, because it knows how to log into your account. It logs in with you when you log in, and whenever you change a password in an account, LastPass says, oh, I noticed you're using a different password now. Do you want to save it? So it will do that. So it facilitates it, makes it easier, but it's not a one-click process. It's not a fire and forget, which you don't want. You would never want to be able to click on a button, tell LastPass to change all of your passwords and update them and let it run. That would be a recipe for disaster. So it's something that you do account by account, but it facilitates the process. Dennis is saying, is it safe to use the same master password with more than one password manager? Dennis, do you think it is? I don't think it is. So, no.
I'm just laughing because you would cringe at half my 80% of my passwords.
Don't be sharing that with me right now. Do you use an antivirus malware ad blocker for my Apple computer? No, I don't. I find that nothing slows down my computer more than antivirus software, and what the cost that it does versus the benefit I get it doesn't seem reasonable. I rely on education to protect me from viruses, to be honest. And I do live in the Apple world, which is a little bit less prevalent as far as having viruses. And philosophically, I can't use an ad blocker. Look how I make my living. I'm a YouTube content creator. I run ads before my videos. That's how I make my money. It would be very disingenuous of me to be blocking your ads when I make a part of my living from ad revenue. So I don't do that. And Betsy says, emergency times. If there's no internet, how do you access all of the accounts for insurance, etc.? Okay. If there's no internet, you really don't need to access the accounts because you can't. So that's my answer there. So you can't. If you're phoning in, you can always, if there's no internet, if you have internet, you have access, and if not, then you don't. I don't think that.
I guess it'll depend on what you have on there that you want to have access to, right?
Yeah, so, yeah. But if it's like your own passwords for local applications, which isn't really, it's for account management. So yeah, so I think we're good. All right, that was fun. We still have 300 people online, folks. Was it fun today? I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. I hope we opened your eyes. Thanks so much for sharing. I'm really looking forward to checking out the chat. This replay will be available in a few hours. If you've not yet registered, if you didn't register for this, but you want to receive the email with all of the resources of what we shared, then make sure April will drop the link in one more time. Make sure you just give us your email address so we can send you this email. Next week's show is, I got a graphic for next week. Are you ready for this? Let's bring up the graphic.
All right.
Next week on Webinar Wednesday, we have... It's so topical. It's Zoom versus Meet. We'll probably include a little bit of the others, but the great streaming shootout. Which streaming service is going to be the best? Which do we like? Which should you be using? Google is pushing so hard to make Meet the streaming service of choice. Zoom is there. We will explore it from all angles. Security, privacy, effectiveness. What do you like? I'll be fascinated by the ones that you like to use, and you will hear our opinion of what we think the best streaming video conferencing app is.
Google Meet has definitely upped their game. I'm just saying.
Well, you know something, when people use Gmail as their service and you just put the big ass button right there and say, you got no choice but to see it right there all the time.
I know, it's one step.
And let's put it into the calendar too. Let's make it go into Google Calendar with all the people. You can be the bully. You can be the bully. And Google, they beat a bully sometime. And of course, there's all of the concerns around Zoom. So, but I don't think we're going to stop using video conferencing anytime soon. So the more we know, the better informed we are. Thank you so much, April. Great job. This went a little bit smoother. We got a few things to iron out. Hopefully next week's webinar will be even more smooth. Till then, have fun storming the castle.
Bye, guys. Have a great night.